Wonder Woman, a game that has not been on the tips of people's tongues, but it's been on the tip of my tongue as I talk about it and said it wouldn't be at SGF, back and forth, yada, yada. Here we go. We have a little bit of news about a leak, but not the leak itself. Over at IGN, Wesley Yin-Poole reports that Wonder Woman's story and concept art has leaked. Warner Brothers Games' long in development Wonder Woman game appears to have suffered a leak stemming from an online marketing survey. Users on Reddit and Reset Era posted concept art and a synopsis of the Wonder Woman game currently in development at Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor maker Monolith Productions, based on this apparent survey. The concept art was subsequently removed from Imgur and various social media posts, quote, in response to a report from the copyright holder. It is unclear when the marketing survey was released. Warner Brothers declined to comment when contacted by IGN. Barrett's tossing it up. This, of course, for DC nerds like me, broke over the weekend or Monday, I forget. But I immediately had this one and a DC update, maybe in the inverse of that, of me and Chris Anka going back and forth, sharing the concept art, the thing, reading about it. Didn't know where it was coming from. Apparently a marketing survey that went wrong. IGN will not publish the leaked artwork or details, but the leak is worth being aware of if you're hoping to hop into the game completely fresh when it eventually comes out. Monolith is famous for Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system, which in that game generates seemingly endless possibilities for enemies you face, the way they act, and the stories that emerge when you face them again and again. The Nemesis system returns for Wonder Woman, Warner Brothers has confirmed. Wonder Woman was announced in December 2021 with a brief teaser trailer and description. Warner Brothers has remained largely quiet on the project in the years since, although we do know Wonder Woman is a single-player action-adventure game set in a dynamic open world. It's played in third person and lets players become Diana of Themyscira, an original story set within the DC universe. Based on what we know of the game and what we're hearing now, Wonder Woman sounds like a mix between the Batman Arkham games and Monolith's own Shadow of Mordor. Timothy?
Mm-hmm.
An interesting one to talk about because we're not talking about the news itself.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to IGN and everybody else who's reporting it this way. I think what's interesting about it from the games journalist side is that nobody can seem to nail down what the marketing leak was. No one has the survey. It's just the concept art and this description that's out about it, which I think
the actual source.
Which I think is why people aren't reporting on it, because you can't find the OG source of it, which makes sense to me. Yeah. Because if it was just, fucking WB put out a marketing survey by accident, I think that's fair game and report away on it. Yeah. But since you can't confirm or deny, I guess that's where it's coming from, people are being shy with it or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that I think, by the way, what I read about it in any way or saw from it is like some huge deal, but if Warner Brothers is being serious enough to go take it down, more power to them, I guess, whatever. Where I wanted to really take this conversation is twofold.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, when do you actually think we see Wonder Woman again, and when do we play Wonder Woman in terms of it's not vaporware and it's actually released?
I don't know. I mean, the fact that there's even surveys being put out about marketing for the game is more than I kind of expected. Like, this is a game that I would not be surprised if we never see. But I feel like most times I say that, the game ends up coming out. The world of gaming works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
And the amount of projects that are so much, like Perfect Dark was at the Xbox Showcase.
And it looked fucking good.
There's just so much we don't know.
Yeah.
And we're just like working off of little information or just like hunches based on previous experience of how game development tends to go. The fact that it was announced at the end of 2021 and we still don't have anything, it's annoying to me at the very least. Like I don't like that type of game announcement stuff. Like I've said this.
That's such an old school way to announce a game.
But also, like, is it? Like, I feel like it's old school in the way that a long time was a year or two out. You know, like now it should not be normal that games are being announced and we haven't heard from them in. I imagine will be 4 or 5 years until this game is actually being talked about and shown. Like, that's
you figure it's
silly.
Best case scenario, we get another trailer at Game Awards. More realistically, I think next year, come the summer, whether it be a PlayStation State of Play or something SGF related, we see it there. And then you're wondering, is it actually coming out in the fall? I would say no. I bet this is a January 2026
Yeah, I
Or
mean, that's
first
wild.
half of 20.
And like there are people in the chat are saying Elder Scrolls or some other games. There are examples of games, but I put that in a different category. When we're talking about a big established like sequel thing that it's like we know they're working on it, but it's like let's just confirm we're working on it so that we can move on from people waiting for the announcement.
Yeah.
That's very different than like the James Bond IO game or this or just like newer products that we're just talking about because we're excited for. I would say like the Jedi Survivor games or Jedi games, Fallen Order being an example of it, but then Survivor, it's like you can announce that whenever because it's a sequel. Like there's different levels to all of this.
And that brings me to my second question and what we've titled the show and what I need from you in the super chats, ladies and gentlemen, and NBs. Do you, and I'll start with you, Tim, care about a Wonder Woman game? Is this Wonder Woman game meaningful in 2024, 2025, 2026?
I mean, I think the answer for me is no, but I think the answer overall is yeah. Like, I don't like, do I think that Wonder Woman is the most popular IP ever? No, but it's way more popular than a lot of things. And I think that the Nemesis system and what they got going on over there is like, that is a style of gameplay that people are yearning for and like. And I feel like you throw any IP on that and it's going to hit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it could work for Lord of the Rings the way that it did, Lord of the Rings is huge, and like Lord of the Rings games are very popular, but I also don't think that it's necessarily like the biggest thing. And I feel like that's similar to Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman's under Lord of the Rings, but like not by much.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think a DC game, I do think that DC's fucked up so much, like in the movies and in the games recently, that like, yeah, it's kind of tarnished. I don't think that there's like a inherent excitement around DC.
Yeah. That's my thing. And of course, if you're new around here and you don't know, I'm a DC fanboy, possibly DC fanboy number one. Like, I can't fucking wait for this Wonder Woman game. I don't care. I'll drink sand. Give me any DC property. That, you know what I mean? Let's go. Let's fucking do something that's not just a garbage. Don't even get me started. I'm excited for this game. But as I sit here and like the leak happens, and then of course we're going off of the trailer, I wonder what the hype level is for the general audience. Because to your point that you made twice there, really, right, is that this is a weird announcement to make of, hey, we're making a Wonder Woman game when it's so far away, when it's not nearly imminent. I don't think there's so much fervor to Wonder Woman, a character I love, that there's this audience that's like, holy shit, yes, I can't wait, da-da-da-da. You could have done that way later and made an impact and shown the game and done something there. Then it's the question just of, since you treating the IP like that and tiring people out or putting it out and not getting the overwhelming holy shit, it's not Batman. It's not Batman, right?
Not Batman. Few things are though.
I know. But I mean, like, I feel like you have to build to that. And again, what the EU has done to Wonder Woman, what in general it's been where we are in general with Wonder Woman. Then to compare it to, yeah, like an IP that matters, right? That people care about, and to talk about Lord of the Rings and what that is, and to talk about Batman, and talk about Spider-Man, and talk about those of what they are, then you get to this thing where it's just like, I just worry that I care a lot about this game. And I know I see people in the chat that care a lot about this game. Can you make the general consumer, general gamer show up? And then this brings in the second part of our headline, which is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I've been having conversations with casually after Xbox and how great it was. And again, like, I'm excited for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle because of, Machine Games, rad. Oh, Troy's in it. That's great. Oh, they're taking a movie franchise that I like enough and doing a video game of it. That sounds cool. But it's into a similar question of, does the mainstream, does the giant gamer audience care enough about Indiana Jones that that's going to move the needle? When we look at it and go, and I know first person, it's different, it's this, it's that. But when you look at it, you're like, it could be Xbox's Uncharted. Could it be? Like, do you think that this has that kind of cachet?
No, I definitely don't. We've talked about Indiana Jones in this context a lot on Games Daily, and it's tough because like the answer to your question is like, no, I don't think Indiana Jones is like the biggest thing ever that's gonna like bring all these people in the type of ways we're talking. I also just think in the state that we're in 2024, where there is IP fatigue, just period. Like franchises, and like it's cool to not like IP. It's cool to hate on things, and it's cool to be like, I'm better than that. Where the reality is, and I've said this a million times, Indiana Jones will sell more than a Wolfenstein.
Sure.
And I feel like that to me is like, but then we're talking about the talented developers that we expect to bring the heat with this game. I do think on the flip of that, though, there's going to be a lot more criticism and a lot more shit talk about Indiana Jones of like, who's asking for this? No one cares about Indiana Jones, like every single level of that. And I also feel like Indiana Jones hasn't had anything great in decades. And that is troublesome. But like, that hasn't stopped Star Wars in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like, I'm throwing a bit more shade than I actually mean to there. But like, I feel like there's ways for the IP to rise above and like become relevant. And I also don't think it needs to be the biggest thing in the world.
Sure.
And it's the same point with Wonder Woman. Like, it's not Batman. It'll never be Batman. But like, Batman, Spider-Man are on a level all their own. Like, I put them up there with a Mario. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of their power to sell things and their power to bring people in and across media. I don't think Indiana Jones has that. Wonder Woman doesn't have that. Like, there are very few things on that echelon. And I feel like Indy is exciting. I don't think it's exciting to the biggest group of people ever, but that's okay. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. With an extensive array of styles and colors, you're bound to find the perfect pair of Shady Rays sunglasses. Y'all know I've been outside in the sun a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's such a great experience wearing Shady Rays when I am out and about looking dope. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Exclusively for you, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code KF20 for $20 off each pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. This episode is brought to you by Harry's. I always hate when I buy something and then I talk to someone else and I realize I way overspent and they got it for cheaper. It's happened to all of us, but getting ripped off is no joke, especially when there's razors involved. The people at Harry's were tired of seeing everyday people paying way too much for low quality shaving products. So they found a way to make beautifully designed razors without laughably high prices. You can get better designed and better value grooming products made by a company that forged their own path in the grooming industry. Harry's has been keeping me looking right for years, and you already know I'm going to count on them for a high quality shave for my wedding. Highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry. No risk trial. You don't like your shave? No worries. It's on them. Convenient subscription options that allow you to cancel at any time, and you can stop getting ripped off. With Harry's, you can get a shave that's a cut above the rest. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/kindafunny. That's harrys.com/kindafunny for a $3 trial set.
This episode is brought to you by A Better Paradise. From the writers of the Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto series comes the new immersive audio fiction podcast, A Better Paradise, Volume 1 and Aftermath. Set in the near future, A Better Paradise tells the story of the ill-fated development of an ambitious but addictive digital game world project led by inventor and psychologist Dr. Mark Tyburn. As the advanced software they developed began to deliver unexpected and disturbing results, the team fell apart under strange circumstances, and the project was abandoned. The game world and the super intelligence within were discarded, left dormant, and undiscovered. Until now. I listened to episode 1 on my way to work today, and the thing that stood out, of course, are the performances, but then as an audio drama fan, it was the use of monologues. There's a whole bunch of talking here as it sets up the world that is not that far from us in the timeline, and also not that far from us in the technology, which is disturbing, but I'm quite interested to see where it goes. A Better Paradise is out now and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Go listen today, and don't forget to follow A Better Paradise on your platform of choice to make sure you never miss an episode. I also think the indies, the one we've talked about before, that'll get mainstream coverage. That'll be in Entertainment Weekly. They'll do some kind of photo shoot with Harrison Ford and Troy Baker or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, there's things to be thrown around there, and that is a interesting property to bridge the gap. As we look back to Wonder Woman, as we look back to DC, right? Super chat here from Tricky Kappa says, DC Games is a brand I have trouble trusting in right now. Understandable. And I wonder with the Wonder Woman part of it, right? Is there a chance of a return on investment? Because to sit here and for us to say, it's not Batman, it's not Spider-Man, few things are. Even remove the leak information that we saw and just what they've talked about before and how what this game seems to, it seems like they're making a Batman or Spider-Man like game. At which point I go, is Wonder Woman a big enough IP to carry that load and justify that production cost? Again, now as we're talking about a game that was announced in 2021, it's 2024. When are you actually playing it? When are you actually buying it? When did it go to pre-production? WB and WB in general, constantly in a state of flux with who's owning it and who cares about what and da. Like, this seems like a fucking money pit.
You bringing in that, it's like, well, yeah, I think many things are doomed. I think many things have problems. And it's like, yeah, I do have very, very big concerns about, does this make sense? And when we look at WB games specifically in the last couple of years, no, it doesn't make sense. Like I feel like we can all say that definitively. A Wonder Woman game that's taking this long to develop does not make sense for them, and I think it's going to be a financial struggle for them.
Yeah, that
sucks. I wish that wasn't the case. The gaming industry would need to be in a very different place for that to not be the case. The budget for this game doesn't need to be as big as a Spider-Man or the Batmans that
the scope of this game doesn't need to be that big.
It just simply doesn't.
Because by the way, that's the thing. Everybody who's if you're excited for this fucking thing and you've ever talked shit about a Superman game, what the fuck's wrong with you? But I digress.
Like the scope of it, and talking about scope of games can be
especially
complicated because
as an aside and a footnote, especially for a game that we don't know anything officially about.
Yeah, and it's like I don't expect the scope of this game to be the most expensive game ever. I do think it's going to be Shadow of Mordor type stuff.
Yeah,
maybe a little bigger, but I mean, just because modern things are. But like, I don't think it's going to be like the biggest game ever.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm like, what the fuck's taking so long?
I mean, games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a stupid, well, if this, then that, chicken and the egg back and forth conversation that like is unfortunate. But like, yeah, we should not have heard about this game that long ago, because then it leads to us having conversations like this that sour the excitement over both Indiana Jones and Wonder Woman.
Like, what would you have lost? There's always the argument for recruiting, which I get to a degree, but I also don't fucking buy, because our industry is so small that it's like, if you were hiring for a Wonder Woman project and you didn't want the general public to know, you could easily get to the talented developers out there and not have the whole world talking about it. Or maybe there's just an undercurrent scuttlebutt that you've heard. Oh, we know Jason Schreier reports that Monolith is. Who cares? I imagine if you had done this SGF or this upcoming Game Awards, you drop that trailer and then the game comes in the next year. Like, awesome, great. No time for us to be sitting around going, what's wrong? For me to say, like, I heard from an insider in the past year that they said it was troubled. Like, not great. I want to do more indie stuff because that's what the super chats are talking about. In the vein of indie, right? And do you care? Chaz Mike, I would imagine, comes in. Maybe it's Chase Mike. They're leaving out a lot of vowels. Read the title of the show. Gen Z grew up in the indie revival during the lead up to Crystal Skull. Tons of baked in nostalgia. Keep up the great work. Heart.
Yeah. I would argue against that. Like, I think there was definitely an attempt for that. Like, you had Lego Indiana Jones. Like, I'm thinking about it in the framework of my little cousin, who was like the perfect age for them trying to build up to the hype of Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was there, but I don't feel like there's a lot of passion from, like, they didn't bake in a passion because, you didn't have a great movie for them to attach to like have that nostalgia. So if they see an Indiana Jones game today, they're going to think, oh yeah, I played that Lego game like 15 years ago. But I don't really care about Indiana Jones as like a thing like that they feel impassioned to go out for. So I don't know.
I just feel like it's the type of thing you don't need to be entirely impassioned and informed on these things. It's more like, oh, I've heard of that. This is a great entry point for me to understand. Just like I was talking about Marvel vs. Capcom earlier. It's like, I didn't know these characters, and then I did because the thing was cool.
Yeah.
If Machine Games puts out an awesome Indiana Jones game and everyone's like, this thing's awesome, that's great. If the game's not awesome, then all this goes out the window anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like Indiana Jones does not need to be the thing bringing people in. It could just be the skin on a great thing that people are then like, oh, I like Indiana Jones now. I feel like Indiana Jones, for me, I watched the movies for the first time and in review a handful of years ago after this game was announced. Like, I do not have a touchstone nostalgia for the movies whatsoever. I love the theme song. I love the ride. That's enough for me to have a passion for Indiana Jones to the extent that I need to be excited for this game.
Sure. It's interesting. I think IP is always so interesting in terms of what it can do, where Lord of the Rings, the Nemesis system, I was like, the Nemesis system sounds awesome. I don't like Lord of the Rings. And so I played an hour and I was like, I get it and I wish I cared. I can't. Hogwarts Legacy obviously was so many people's dream games, right? And I was like, I just don't care about Harry Potter that way, so I'll never touch that game. There's that, you know what I mean? And
Totally.
We're talking. I keep saying, there's a lot of, I know what I means today. Sorry. It is that idea that like I wonder with Wonder Woman if it is all right, cool. It's going to be a 20-hour Wonder Woman game. Like how good that review score has to be for somebody to be like, I care about gods and goddesses enough to come in and play this thing. I care about DC superheroes enough to play that. But is it even like pulling on the DC strings, or is it just going to be like Wonder Woman and you care enough about Wonder Woman that way? And same thing for indie, where I guess in indie, hey, we're making a game that I assume, I don't know, tell me, kindoffunny.com/you're wrong or super chat me. I assume indie's going to be what? 10 hours, 12 hours?
Yeah.
Not 20.
No, I hope not.
Right, I don't want that.
No.
And so if it is like, hey, we're giving you a Rick rolling adventure, it's on Game Pass, it's all these things, it feels like the Pulp Adventure indie, Troy's doing a great performance, well, like, I can see that being a thing that you'd, even if you don't care about indie, you'd come into, because who doesn't like shooting and whips?
But again, I just want to say this. Like, obviously, everybody wants their game to be the biggest hit of all time. There is no way that Xbox Game Studios is looking at Indiana Jones as the one that is going to break the bank and be the number one selling game of the year. Look at the sales of any Wolfenstein game in the past. That's probably their barometer. That is probably what they're trying to get past.
Yeah.
I think that they will. Although Game Pass fucks things up, so I don't know.
The other one I had here was from CJ, who super chats, says the release timing for Indiana Jones is weird. December release feels like it's going to be this year's Avatar.
It better not be December, man.
I don't think it hits this year. I'm going to be honest. I feel like if they're...
Did you use gut feeling, or is it based on what we saw?
Gut feeling. Also, I don't think in terms of like production of what we saw in that trailer, like, oh God, this game's not ready. It feels... The way that they're playing it, or we've kind of heard December. I forget like if we've ever heard that officially, or we're just assuming. I don't know. That indie feels like if they had like a December date, they could have easily put that into the showcase. And I feel like December is just when you put December like a year ago or earlier this year or whenever that was thrown out.
They didn't.
They never did. So why? Like everybody's assuming December
because yeah,
that's interesting. I feel like that's one that could easily slip just to get past like. Oh, we want this game to hit after the kind of like hangover of like the holiday period and Black Friday and stuff like that, if they're not going to get it out before Black Friday, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I expect it this year, but I just really hope it's not December. I think that's going to doom the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like not a good time.
I agree.
But I also don't think that indie needs Black Friday. I just think we're running out of time.
You don't think so?
Indiana Jones? I don't think so.
I think it's helpful. Yeah, I think that would work in a way of like if you're a dad or a mom or you're out there, you're an aunt or uncle or whatever, and it's like, oh fuck, I like indie. I bet. Oh, there's a game now or whatever, and I don't even know how much that literally happens or actually happens. You know
I just think that like not every game can benefit from Black Friday because like if all the games are coming out around there, they're like there's a problem. But if it were coming out like 2 months earlier, that I feel like would be ideal. Indiana Jones should come out in August. Everybody, it's not going to, but it should. I'll even give him September.
Okay, fair enough. I would like those days. James super chats and says, if the indie whip mechanic works well, does that open the door for a first-person Castlevania?
Not in a direct way.
I mean, I say they wouldn't do it, right? Like that'd be Konami. Konami's watching it. Who knows what they're gonna do with Castlevania next? But no, I don't think you have to worry about that. And then Big Five says, I wonder how the male gaze affects underestimating Wonder Woman. Listen, if you haven't been on the internet recently, there's a bunch of chuckle fuck assholes out there who just want to throw around woke and everything else. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. When they actually do start talking about Wonder Woman and people wake up to who the fuck Wonder Woman actually is, this fucking badass from an island of women, it's going to be a fucking nightmare.
They made Wonder Woman woke.
Do not be part of the discourse. Do not engage with the discourse when the discourse begins of people being like, the top 5 woke things from Wonder Woman's trailer.
God.
Buses in Bridges says with Avowed eyeing November when Indy,
and that's where the December is coming from. Is people just kind of placing things where there's openings,
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, man, I don't know. But again, this is going to be a problem that Xbox is going to face because the dominoes are about to begin. Greg, they are falling, and there are so many of them. And a problem with dominoes, if they're stacked too close together, it fucks things up.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
They stop knocking everything down nicely. And I think that that's not really going to be a problem because Game Pass functions differently. But I think over long term, that's going to be a problem because the money's not going to be coming in for these things. But you can release 3 games in a month if people are playing those 3 games and if people are able to just download the game and get to it at their pace and stuff. But that's just not how money is made in games. So scary.
We'll have to wait and see too, because I just feel like Avowed and indie are such different things. And that's part of Xbox's dominoes, but getting them too close to your point is a problem as well. But I really feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat, super chat away, or I'll be watching the free chat too, but like Avowed seemed to lose a lot of steam when it showed its gameplay. When it did that first gameplay and we all watched it and we're like, okay, and it was like, I think Andy got turned off to it. I was like, this looks like a Bethesda, even though it's Obsidian, but it looks like that kind of RPG, which I'm into, but I'm not into this setting. So it feels like Avowed is scoped down in terms of who that's for.
Avowed seems to be going back and forth. I feel like every presentation it has, it wins some people and loses others, and then just back and forth. I'm very
interested in trying it.
Yeah, and where it actually lands.